Hello everyone. This is a little project I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Move this out of the road. These lures that I've noticed are slowly but surely, well, not slowly but surely, but jumping up in price horrendously lately. You know, the likes of one of these here is like $10.99 plus postage in some places. You know, so they're getting really expensive. So, I'm going to make my own. And how am I going to do that, you may ask? I'm going to make a mould. And then I'm going to cast them. I'm going to fill this halfway with that. Drop a lure in it. And show you how I do it. So it's going to take me a little while to figure out all the tricks of the trade. But I have been watching quite a lot. So I'm going to paint the mould first of all. A little bit of Vaseline. Make up some of this. Fill it about halfway, set the lure in at an angle with wire going through it and a couple of breather holes and also a bigger hole for the molten tin or whatever I'm using for the lure to make the metal lure, which I'm going to have to melt. And yeah, going to get cracking. Alright everyone, just showing you, these are going to be my trays for molds to make some copies of Seekers and Westons and even little hats and hat shots. So what I've done, just got a couple of lunch boxes and Chinese trays, something that's maybe about 2 inches deep, and I've just given it all a coat with Vaseline as a releasing agent for when you pour plaster in. So they're all done, and put the lid. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to mix up some plaster. I'm actually using plaster of Paris, or as we call it, plaster Paris. Alright, so easy enough to mix up. I'm going to use my little mixer and a little container, fill it halfway up with water. The rest plaster should be enough to do a couple of these, and I'll show you how things get on from there. Okay, just going to pause this a little minute. Alright, so I'm just mixing the plaster up. It'll be a bit of a messy job, so try to go easy. And just get a quick wipe down once you're kind of finished. So what I'm doing is sinking the dust first, and then the mixer on low. You want millions of bubbles in it, so that's why it's at low. Make sure it go around the sides. I think I could do a little bit more in there. And this is really cheap, this Plaster Paris. Like, I think I got 5 kilos for a tenner. Sink that down a bit, get the mixer on. You can do it by hand if you want, but I just find it easier doing this. It gets all the lumps out of it. You get like close to like a pancake mix kind of, okay? And then I'm going to pause this, I'm going to tidy up and go over to the molds. Right. So that's the plaster mixed up, and all I'm going to do is add it to the halfway mark on these. I'll do these two first. Might be enough for that last one, but I can always mix up some more. So just pour this in halfway. Might even be enough for this. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Could give that a little scrape. Go and get a spoon. It's like baking a cake. Right. So that one tastes very nice. It's a cake. So this one here. Okay. And then what you do, you top it. To get all the bubbles to come to the top, because you don't want it inside the mold itself. And what I do, you can do this if you want. This is a little 1mm wire, stainless steel wire. See little bubbles? Just burst them with a little bit of wire. If there's any annoying you, you can actually drag them to the side as well. But so I'm just making sure there's no bubbles where the lures are going to get sat on. Because you don't want any imperfections, because it will show up on the lure. And the next stage is to let that sit for a wee while, not too long. You don't want it to go completely hard, you want it just to thicken up a bit more. The last thing you want is to drop a lure in and go down into it. You don't want that. Then you get your lure and you put it in the mold. But what you do first is you get your wire that goes through the lure. Now there's some that's a bit tight, i.e. this one here. I do have thinner wire, but the likes of Seekers, the hole in these is probably 1.5mm or something, I'm not sure. But the wire goes in that no problem. So what you want to do is have it in the plaster with the wire almost touching each side. So I'm going to do 2 in this mold and 2 in this mold. So what my idea will be is do the bigger ones and the smaller ones in the smaller one. So yeah, just let that sit for a while and I'll get back to you. Right, I've just got made up another little mix while that's starting to tighten up a bit. So I'll fill this one up as well. About half that jug did that, so. There you go. Happy days. Right, I'll go and wash the stuff out again. And I'll come back and show you what I do and how I get the lures set in. Right, take a look at my carnage. So what I'm going to do now is check this and see if it's starting to, starting to set a little bit. So this big one, I'm actually going to make three in it. So what I'm doing, I'm getting this narrow gauge wire, putting it through there and out the other side. So these are all in line. Measure it roughly and give it a little bit shorter, just you don't want it too tight to fit in. So like that, so that can go in. All right, so you just trim about 5mm off that. Yep, happy enough of that one. Some of these won't take this wire. So, change of plan, stickers are all going in the same one. Right, so, put the wire a bit shorter than the width of the container. There's another one. And my last sticker. So here we go. So I'm going to do a wee test, see how, yeah, it's starting to thicken up regularly. So what you want to do is gently set these in, okay, hopefully in the middle, like that. Give it a little push. You don't want to sink it, but you want it to be at least halfway. There we go. Happy enough for that one. Right. Moving up here to the next one. Gently set that in. You may not be able to see it that angle, but bring the camera around. So, and then I'm just going to push it down a little bit in the plaster. Actually, I think that wire's maybe a wee bit too long, but I think it's okay. So, just give a little push. There we go. So it's halfway in. And the last one, the 24-gram cigarette. In there. So the plaster's starting to go off, so I'm going to push it in a little bit firmer this time in this one. So there you go. So all the lures, get it in the light. Oh well. So the lures are submerged halfway in the plaster with a bit of wire right through them to each end. Okay. There you go. And what you can do is put a little bit of releasing agent, excuse me, on them as well, a little bit of Vaseline, and that'll help release it. But the plaster not really stick to them. You can take it out after plaster starts going off after about 20 minutes. I'll show you that. There we go. There's all the lures in the plaster with the wire through them, and they're all sitting roughly. Just double checking, make sure they're okay. So they're sitting halfway in the plaster. Okay. And I'll give that about 20 minutes or so, and I'll top it out. Okay, it's time to remove these from the mold. Already did one. It's actually warm, you can feel the heat with the plaster Paris setting. So here's another one I'm going to have to tip out. So what I do is, see where the wire is, I just go down each side of the wire with a sharp knife while it's still kind of soft. You can see that. I already did the rest of them. So here we go. Just give it a wee push. another one. Let me see. And put my finger on the inside too so it doesn't fly out. There we go. So when you remove it from the plastic container, it'll allow it to dry. And what I usually do is put them on my radiator overnight, and then the next day, here's a couple of samples that didn't really go well. Solid. But so this is what I have. So what I do, I get my check. Let's see, I'll go around that nice and lightly. Knife. And then we'll see. There we go. Should have put a bit more Vaseline on that, but there we go. There's one half the mould. And if you have any wee blemishes or anything, you can always fill it in with a wee bit of plaster, or what I do, if I can find it, a little bit of fine sandpaper, and give it a wee, get any blemishes out of this part here. That looks good there. Just try and get the rest of these out, nice and gently. But you get the idea. Just poke the wire out, a bit fidgety, but and then there's another one. That mold turned out well there. Don't worry about this outer bit, because when you put the other bit on, it'll fill all them little gaps in. So I'll do the final one. Just make sure the wire's free. So the plaster's been sitting for about half an hour after I poured it. And the reason why I'm taking these out is to check that everything looks good. There we go. Small seeker. So 13, 18 and 24 gram seekers. And all I do then, when that's fully dried overnight, okay, I'll put it back into the container. And Vaseline all this. Just give it a good coat. Give it a good Vaseline. Straighten the wire out again, obviously. Put straight bits in. And make sure it's all Vaseline, and then another layer of plaster. And let that dry. And then the next day separate it, and then let them both dry for as long as I can, or even put them in the oven for a while. Good 4 hours, about 100 degrees, get all the heat out of them. And then I'll show you what you do next, because you have to make little, drill little holes for the pour your molten lead into, and also a little breather. You can do it now, but I find it'll be easier to do once you make a mold with a little drill bit. and then you'll make like a little V shape on both of the molds where you pour your lead in. But that'll be in the next bit. Okay. Okay, so got them all, these two greased up, ready to pour the plaster Paris in. Make sure I get all that in there as much as possible. Do the same with the other side, give it a wee shake. Get leveled. So what I'm going to do now is, okay, so this is all greased, ready to go. So we're just going to pour in the plaster Paris here. And I learned a little trick before you do that. Make sure get the spigots done first. Not spigots, but you know what I mean. Yep. Make sure they're all filled up. Yep. Because I don't know how the other one's going to turn out. It didn't do that, but this is an experiment. Just tap and get any air bubbles out. Have a look around. Pour the rest out, I suppose. Do you know that? More the merrier. Right. And we'll just let that set and go off and come back to it shortly. It's been about 40 minutes since I poured, and I've already got one out. One of the molds. I'm not going to separate it yet. I'm going to let that dry a bit more. So here we go. Just turn upside down, fingers underneath it. You can tell the difference in colour. That's the dry one. Obviously that's the new one. It's just been poured. So let them dry overnight and try and separate them tomorrow. There we go. So just going to put them over the radiator, dry them out a bit. That's another bit done. Right everyone, it's been over a day and I have dried these out. I'll just lift them out like you see. There's the mold, and I've cleaned the little channel a little bit with some very fine sandpaper. So they fit perfect and they're nice and dry. I had them in the oven for a couple of hours or more at 100 degrees. So what I'm doing now is using, I think that's about a 10 mil drill bit, and I'm hand drilling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'll do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you get the drift now. So what these are, when they're cleaned out, when you pour more plaster Paris in, it's going to fill these holes in. So you'll have spuds on one side, holes on the other side, and that will make the two plates not move when you come to pouring your tin. I did say lead, but I'm going to be using tin. 14. So I'm just counting these out, all the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right, I'm going to stop this. Okay, so I've hand drilled nice and carefully. As you can see, the holes on the plaster of Paris. Okay, so the other half, when I make it, will have spigots or whatever they call them, spuds, and they'll fit into this. So when you put them both together, they'll be perfectly lined up. Just put these back to where they came from and get cracking on with the second layer. Okay, back again. So there we go, I've got them all rewired again, the wires through them, and I've got the 4 hand drilled 10mm holes, about, I don't know, 5 or so mil, and I've done them all like this, as you can see, and that one as well. So what I'm going to do now is plaster it in Vaseline, so the other bit of mould I make does not stick. So make sure you do in all these little holes and get any bubbles of air out and all this. So yep, I'll do that in a second. Okay, I'm on to the next step. I'm just gonna give this a good coat of Vaseline. As you can see, make sure you're doing the little pivot holes or little guide lines or guide holes, and I'm gonna do the whole heap. Okay, well, this is the next day after making the mold. I've already separated one of them. I'm sure a few of you are wondering, how is he going to get the tin into it? So what's going to happen, I'm going to make a little hole here, and on the other side a little vent hole there on all the molds. But this one here, this one's the bigger seeker. I'm going to have to cut this, because you can only do 2, because you're not going to be able to get the vent and that in there. Well, you never know. We'll see. But yeah, so there you go, that's the other side of the mold done, and yeah, turned out all right. Oh, here we go, proof of the pudding. This is a mold that's been sitting overnight on the radiator, so I'm going to try and separate it here. So I'm just going to push a knife in very gently and twist it slowly and see if this pops like the last one. Hopefully it does. Yep, it's going to. So let's see what this has turned out like. Yep, good job, happy enough for that. Now one of the holes hasn't turned out here, so I know what to do the next time, but at least I've got the rest. They'll still marry up and not move. Good. One more. All right, here's my last one. I'm going to give it a, nope, it's not going to work with that, the hand. So give it a little wiggle. Yep, it's going to go. So you have to be careful, he's nice and gentle. Going to give this a little wiggle. There we go. More nice little mold. So the next stage will be to drill where the tin's getting poured in here, and make another little flue here for to let air out, just a thin hole, which I'll do with little drill bits, and I'll show you how it's done in the next little clip. But I'm quite pleased with them. Yeah, turned out well. Okay, I've drilled the little vent holes and the pouring spout onto the moulds, and this is going to be my first go at pouring molten tin. So I'm just heating up on the cooker. The tin melts at quite a low melting point. So here goes. Let's see what happens. One. Right. So I think I got one filled. Oh, trial and error. Right, I've already cast a few just for trial. So here we go. I'm going to give this a go now again. Yes, I did spill a bit. Well, you can always melt it down and put it back in a pot. So we'll give that a few minutes and see how it turns out. Right, it's been a little minute. So time to release them from the mould. See how my 12-gram lures turned out. There you go. 12-gram sterling. Just needs trimmed. And whatever I'm going to do with it, paint it or foil it or whatever. I think it turned out alright actually. See the B side. Plenty of detail. And let me see, I'm trying to get this in focus. I wonder if it's cool enough to touch. Yeah. So trim off the excess and I'll show it in a second. Okay, so this is one of the 12-gram Serling. Still needs a wee buff around here to get that smooth. And the reason why you put copper grease on the wire that goes right through the lure is so you can just give it a pull like so, and you'll end up with a hole the whole way through. Now this wee bit just needs filed down a bit, but I can't see a little hole there. So yeah, they're turning out all right. So I'm just going to weigh them here. Get this on. There you go, came out all right. So you just need to trim. So weighing scales. 0 that. And see what we get. Not sure. Feels a little bit heavier, but yeah, we're 21 grams. And I'm happy enough for that. 20-gram lure. Perfect. Be able to fling them out a bit further. Must be using a different type of alloy than, well, that one's 18. So I've crept up a bit, but there's still a bit of access to trim off them around the front and stuff, so don't forget it's a mould as well. Happy days. Good. Well, here goes. It's time for the casting of my stickers. Small, middle, and 24 gram. I've drilled a big hole, but not below the level of the sticker, and also a fent hole on both sides for these two, and a little fent hole here, and that's the other half. So I'm going to put it together, bring it over here to my makeshift foundry. So I've got some copper wire, and what I'm going to do is put some copper grease on it. You get it at car shops, no problem, easy enough. So the reason I'm putting grease on the wire is when it goes inside the lure, the nut will not stick, so I can pull the wire out again. So I'm just going to show you quickly. doesn't fall. Right, so I'm putting the wire in here. Sorry, this one. Hope if I put it in the right side. Alright, so there's wire. I think this is 1.5 stainless steel. Pick it up, no problem, anywhere, Amazon or something like that. And then put this in there. Alright, so what I was doing was a little mistake. I was making the hole come right out the bottom. Don't need to, you can stop before, because your metal will run out. So I've just used a bit of plaster. Seems to be doing the job. And then, so 2 grease wires are in there. I'm gonna get this. And lightly clamp it. Just lightly. Don't forget this is made out of plaster Paris. Plaster of Paris. And it's just this little thing to stop it from tipping. Turn it around so I've got it better. There you go. So here we go. This is lead I'm using here. Or sorry, apologies. This isn't lead. Lead is very toxic. Fumes of it. This is tin, which apparently isn't as bad. So lean it on it, and I'm going to pour it till it comes to the top. There you go. Don't worry about anything you spill. You can always lift it up, and when it cools down, remelt it. Like this, just tin melts at a very low temperature, so it does. And it's 2/3 the weight of lead, and most lures are made out of tin nowadays. So yeah, so give that a second or two just to cool down, and then I'll take it over and demold it. Okay, that's cooled down, but I have noticed one thing. This is the second time it's happened. The molds crack after so many you do, so you only get a few out of it, but it's a learning curve, definitely a learning curve. So let's see. I think it's this part here, it's cracked. But there you go. I've made quite a few already. All it needs is trimmed. I need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all I need is trimmed, and then over to the little sander I have, we sanding this thing on a cordless or on an electric drill. So the reason why you copper grease the wire, just grab it with the pliers, give it a slight twist, and a pull. There you go, came out. So you keep the wire for other ones. So any waste can be remelted, like so that. It's just pure tin. And try and remove the wire. Right, here goes. Came out very easy. What I found was an old kitchen knife. There we have it. Handy. We'll trim up a lot of that excess because tin's quite easy to cut. It's very similar to lead, except it doesn't have all the things that can damage your health. So I've actually added a bit of detail onto these myself in the mould. Don't know if you can see that. Made a bigger gill plate, a bigger eye, a deeper eye. So all I'm going to do is sand off all the burr and then decide what colour to do them or to foil them or whatever. just curious what the weight is. Put this on a hard standing. Right. I would say 20 grams for this one. That's the middle size. And this is the small. Don't forget there's a lot of stuff on it still. And it's 18. So I would say by the time I take off everything else, it's going to be about 16, 17. So yeah. There we go. How to make your own seekers. As I say, the only thing happens, this. So maybe I'm making too many in the one mould, but I can still use this. So I can still use the small one, and that's the ones I actually want. So I can still use that bit. But say it's a learning curve. So there you go. And I can show you a few other ones which I've already made from today. These are foiled. I just burred all the edges off them with a wee grinding tool. Give them a sand, and then hot press foiled them, and then a couple of coats of lacquer after I drew a little black eye and a wee bit of a red gill. If you can see that, and they're doing a good job. So I'm gonna just see what weight's in them. 15 grams. So on the other one, which I made slightly bigger, 16 grams. Good. Well, there we go. Little experiment. It works, but the only thing is, you need to invest in a better thing for the molds. And there is such a thing. It's actually a silicone. I think it's called silicone 60. And you mix it just like normal silicone you would with like a resin hardener in it, but it's heat proof. But it is a bit expensive. I think it's about £40 a litre. But if it's something you're going to do and save yourself a fortune in the long run, it's maybe worthwhile investing in. Instead of buying, just copy them. And they're going to be more or less the same, maybe a wee bit overweight, but you can always trim them down or something, or grind them down. But I think they turn out not too bad. I'll say it just needs all that trimmed off and sanded, and then painted or foiled. Happy days. Better turn off the cooker and tidy up. Bit of a mess. All right, thank you very much. Tight lines.